When we're talking about behaviors for a small group leader to express in building a small group community, remember, a small group is a community of people around your life who are doing life together in the pursuit of Jesus. And in that way, the people that come to your weekly meeting may not really be in your small group quite yet. They're kind of checking things out or experiencing that. And others may at times miss your weekly meeting, but they're still in your small group, because the idea of small group is that community who are leaning on each other, who are doing life together in their pursuit ultimately of exploring, discovering, and journeying towards Christ together at some level in some way. Doesn't mean that they're even followers of Jesus yet, but that core of people who are journeying with you in your faith towards Him. So when we're talking about that idea, how do we create that community, and particularly in the area of fighting for people? We're trying to fight for them to be in that small group community. I think the area that I often see small group leaders kind of get hung up on is in really kind of taking that initial step of getting them into that small group community, and particularly in creating a sense of commitment to that community. And I think the reason oftentimes that this is where we kind of stall in the development of our community around our life is because we don't intuitively understand that many times people just need to be asked. And they need to be asked well. That if you're inviting them into this, we think in starting our relationship with Jesus, it starts with a commitment. Jesus, I surrender my life to you. And when it comes to marriage, we talk about, the relationship starts in that context with a commitment. Until I die, until death do us part, I'll be your spouse. And in those ways, now those are maybe extreme ideas but they highlight the core of what we're getting at here. That if somebody's going to be in your small group, that oftentimes they just need to be asked, and asked well. And I think it's interesting that I had a guy that was core in my small group one year, and I was doing an internship with Chi Alpha. I was in a new university and kind of getting to know people, and I met this student who wasn't in anyone's small group yet. It was the summer, and he was also transferring from another university, and there was, I think, a couple different people that were kind of courting him, if you will, to be in their small group communities, and they were building the relationship, and they were doing all that good stuff. And I unintentionally, I didn't realize what was really going on there, but I also connected with this guy named Johan, and I was just talking with Johan, and I was like, man, dude, I'm new here, but I'm going to be building a community with students around this campus, and I'm curious what you're feeling like the Lord's telling you about this year, what He wants for you this year, and kind of heard his story and his heart and what the Lord was doing in his life. I said, dude, I'd love to be part of that. Would you be interested in being in my small group? And I would love to walk with you this year with what you're sensing from the Lord. And he said, yeah, man, I'd love to. I've been around the Chi Alpha for a little while, but nobody's invited me into their small group yet. So a lot of friendly people around here, but yeah, I'd love to be in your small group. And in a good sort of way, but I think I got a few of the guys a little upset with me because they had been pursuing this guy longer. They just never asked. It's like courting the girl, for very long, but you never ask her out on a date. You just kind of think that that'll just happen. Well, in the same way, we should ask our guys or gals to join our community. And that means that we have to define what we're going about. And so I think a couple things, if you read underneath this video, you will see a breakdown of just some practical ideas. You don't have to use this. You can edit it for your own purposes, but it gives you just something of an outline to work from that you can kind of fill in your own words with that outline. But it's really trying to get to this idea of saying, man, if you can communicate the vision of how you want to create a community and what brotherhood or sisterhood looks like to you, and why you want to do it together in pursuing Jesus. And then you want to talk about why you see in them a lot of potential and how you would like to join with them in their story of faith this year, and invite them and ask them and just say, hey, would you be interested? I think sometimes we don't get the commitment, even if we get people coming into our small group meetings and doing some of our stuff. They come and they go and they kind of a little flaky. And it's because we have expectations that we've never really communicated and never gotten commitment from them for. But if we would just ask them and say, hey, would you be willing to be part of my, the core of my small group community? And I've got a lot of guys that are at different places in their spiritual journey, and I think you've got a lot to offer in just being friends with them and part of our community. And if you can, just be with me and come, weekly as much as you can to the meeting and just be part of our lives, I would just love to do life with you and be part of your faith story. How honoring is that for people? And yet so often we kind of intuitively think that they're just going to commit without ever being asked. Let's be people who communicate the value of the people that we have fought for this season, that the Lord has put before us to sacrifice and serve. And let's honor them by asking them to commit to us. Not that there isn't a lot of grace in that, and of course seasons, and maybe they won't say yes, and that's okay. But we need to give them the opportunity to commit. And in that way, we will build the community that we're seeking to create, that are committed to one another and to us as we all seek to commit in a greater way to our Lord.